Good morning, friends. Welcome to the YouTube channel GMAT Titans. My name is Hitanshu Munjal and I'm your trainer. In the last lecture, we had solved two assumption-based example questions. So sometimes what happens is that when we are solving an assumption question, we feel stuck between two closely worded or two close answer choices which both seems to be correct, and we are unsure which one to choose. So for dealing with that situation, what we use is called the denial or negation of assumption technique. So let's have a look at the technique. The denial negation rule for assumption questions. When you are unsure between two or more answer choices in an assumption question, a reliable way to eliminate the wrong ones is to use the negation or denial rule. This rule is built on the idea that an assumption must be true for the argument's conclusion to hold true. Therefore, if the assumption is denied or negated, the argument should collapse. In practice, you simply negate each answer choice and observe what happens. If after negating the statement, the conclusion still makes sense, that option is not the assumption. If, however, negating the statement causes the argument to break down or lose validity, then that option is the correct assumption. In short, the negation rule helps confirm which statement the argument depends on most critically for its reasoning to work. Meaning of denial/negation of assumption. Denial or negation of an assumption means saying the exact opposite of what the assumption is claiming. It is used to test whether an argument depends on that assumption. In simple words, to negate an assumption means to pretend the assumption is false and see what happens to the argument. Even simpler, assumption, something the argument needs to be true. Negation, say the assumption is not true. If the argument falls apart when the assumption is denied, then the assumption is necessary. So let's understand it with the help of the following example. Over the past 6 years, most of the students in Tupac City have regularly attended colleges in the neighboring Mekong City to pursue their graduate degrees. However, according to a recent change in the education policies of Mekong City, the colleges in Mekong City are expected to increase their fee to almost the same level as those charged by colleges in Tupac City. Therefore, it can be safely concluded that colleges in Tupac City will see a surge in the number of students enrolling with them to pursue their graduate degree. Which of the following is an assumption on which the argument depends? The teachers at colleges in Mekong City are generally considered better than those at colleges in Tupac City. Option B, Tupac City does not have good quality colleges. Option C, the low fee charged by colleges at Mekong City is the primary reason why students from Tupac City move to these colleges. D, students who study at colleges in Tupac City do not perform better than those who study at colleges in Mekong City. Mekong City does not have more colleges than Tupac City. So let's apply the denial or negation of assumption rule to the options and see what happens. So option A says, after negation, the option A says the teachers at colleges in Mekong City are generally not considered better than those at colleges in Tupac City. Negating this option does not help in any way because the argument is never about the quality of teachers in the first place. In its original wording, this option was weakening the argument. Now it is not doing anything. Option B, Tupac City does not have good quality colleges. Since this option already contains the word not, the ideal way to negate this is to remove the not. Why? Because negative and negative become positive. So obviously, instead of adding another not to the argument, we have to remove the not from the argument. So after negation, this does not explain why students have been shifting in the first place, and quality of colleges is never the issue anyway. Option C, the low fee charged by colleges in Macon City is not the primary reason why students from Tupac City move these colleges. Negating this option definitely makes the argument fall apart, because in this case the students will keep on shifting to colleges in Macon City even after the increase in fee. Then there will be no surge in enrollments in the Tupac City, so this option has to be the assumption. D, students who study at colleges in Tupac City do not perform better than those who study at colleges in Macon City. Again, strike out the do not from this as option to negate it. Like option B, if this were to be the case, then the students wouldn't have been shifting from Tupac City to Macon City in the first place. Option E, Macon City does not have more colleges than Tupac City. The number of colleges in either city is of no consequence to our argument. So you can see that the denial or negation rule can come in very handy when you are confused between answer choices. However, don't apply this rule on all the 5 answer choices and waste your time. 2 or 3 options can usually be eliminated easily. Apply this rule to the remaining options, and only if you are confused between them. Now let's go back to the argument and see why negating the option C makes the argument collapse. So here option C says the low fee charged by colleges at Macon City is the primary reason why students from Tupac City move to these colleges. Okay, and obviously in the argument we see that they are trying to make a correlation between the increase in the fee in the colleges of Macon City to the surge in the number of students enrolling in the colleges in Tupac City. Okay, and option C confirms this correlation, therefore this is the assumption. But when we negate this option, when we negate the option C and we say that the low fee charged by colleges at Macon City is not the primary reason why students from Tupac City move to these colleges, obviously the correlation here between the increase in fee in the colleges of Macon City and the surge in number of students enrolling in the college in Tupac City collapses. So therefore the argument itself collapses, and hence C is the assumption. So let's look further. Okay, now we come to the last part, that is the process of elimination for assumption questions. So this helps you in eliminating the irrelevant options. So when you are using process of elimination or assumption questions, always eliminate answer choices that do the following: give new information. The assumption must link the premise and the conclusion. Any answer choices that discuss information that is not part of the original argument are wrong. So any option which seems to be out of scope of the argument obviously has to be eliminated. Have the wrong tone. The tone of the answer choice should match the tone of the argument. Arguments that have very strong conclusions require very strongly worded answer choices, and arguments that have milder tones require milder answer choices. Weaken the argument. The assumption is necessary to the argument. Eliminate any answer choice that would weaken or hurt the argument, unless of course you are dealing with a weakened question. So we have already seen in the previous lecture that the formula on which the argument is based is premise plus assumption is equal to conclusion. So that makes assumption the necessary part of the argument. So obviously an assumption won't weaken the argument. So any option which weakens the argument has to be eliminated, except for when you are dealing with the weakened question. And for the second part, second recommendation. Obviously the tones have to match. Like if the tone of the argument is very strong, then the tone of the assumption has to be strong, and if the tone of the argument is in a milder tone, the assumption is also to be in the milder tone. So students, that's all for today. We'll meet in the next lecture, and if you have any doubts, you can leave in the comment section. Thank you for joining. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.